Okay, movie, I didn't send your opening logo because there's only one and it only lasts 20 seconds. But this opening title shot lasts for fucking ever, and this one you've earned.
Does anybody see my sunblock? What's the point of going to Florida if you're gonna put on sunblock?
Ah, the 90s, when grunge ruled, must-see TV was a thing, and no one gave a shit about skin cancer.
Great, now you can be a skag with a slightly darker shade of skin.
That's Skagsist.
Hey, easy on the fluids, pal. The rubber sheets are packed.
If Fuller seriously has a bedwetting problem, then why couldn't you leave one rubber sheet out?
Honey, are you packed yet?
Yes. Yes.
Behold, the great and powerful recording device thingy that will provide 80% of this movie's plot. Also, Kevin has the ability to perfectly rewind the tape to the exact spot he wants every goddamn time he uses this fucking thing.
Why do we have to go to Florida? There's no Christmas trees in Florida.
Kevin, what is it with you and Christmas trees?
Why do they have to go anywhere? I know we have to make a sequel and all, but this family put Kevin through some severe trauma just a year ago, and now they want to go through the same machinations? All things considered, Kevin's handling this amazingly well.
Guests of the new celebrity Ding Dang Dong stay at the world-renowned Plaza Hotel.
They couldn't come up with a better fake game show than Ding Dang Dong? Since they're using 100,000 fortune hunt props, why didn't they just make it that?
Honey, do you know where the battery for this camcorder is?
Yeah, I put it in the charger.
Okay, the last time this happened, it was a storm that knocked the power out. But this time, it's Kevin's dad, who is so reckless with his plug behavior here that I assume he's actively trying to lose Kevin. Also, why did he need to unplug the splitter box at all? He was just disconnecting the camcorder battery charger, which is on the underside of this obvious fire hazard. Why are Kevin and Buzz singing in the same choir? Sure, they might both be enrolled in this school, but Kevin's in the 3rd grade, and Buzz is definitely in high school. This performance is allowed to continue, despite the conductor and the pianist looking straight at Buzz while he's playing the prank. Why is the entire audience laughing? Buzz's prank isn't even that funny, and half the audience wouldn't even be able to see it. Buzz is on the top row, so this shove should just knock him off the risers. But because we're meant to believe that Kevin ruins everything, the entire choir is taken out. Before her employment at St. Gerard's School, this music teacher clearly worked at the Prometheus School of running away from things.
Kevin, do you have something to say?
Beat that, you little trout sniffer.
Trout sniffing. Also, how does nobody else in the family hear Buzz say this?
Kevin, you walk out of here, you sleep on the 3rd floor.
Yeah, with me.
Jesus Christ, Fuller's turned what used to be an accidental urination into a full-on fetish.
You'd better not wreck my trip, you little sourpuss. Your dad's paying good money for it.
Oh, wouldn't want to spoil your fun, Mr. Cheapskate.
Is everyone in this family a fucking asshole? Hang on, let me run down a list of characters. Yeah, yes, oh, definitely. Yeah, that guy. Oh, absolutely. Jesus, for sure. I guess she's not that bad. Okay, I've confirmed there's exactly one non-asshole in this family.
If I had my own money, I'd go on my own vacation.
Well, you got your wish last year. Maybe you'll get it again this year.
Listen, Kevin's being a bit of a dick here, but Kate's literally displaying the same passive aggressiveness as last year, despite knowing exactly how that all worked out.
We did it again!
Why are Kevin's parents the only ones in this entire fucking house that have an alarm? They're the motherfuckers that are responsible for waking the whole family up, and with their track record, they're still designated for this role.
How come none of us are sitting together?
At this time of year, we're lucky to get on the same plane.
F***ing what? How is it even possible that none of them are sitting next to each other, even by accident? There's fucking 14 of them. Reinforcing my theory that Kevin's dad is actively trying to ditch him, Kevin's allowed to run behind the entire family, without anyone looking back for him, despite the events of the last movie.
Don't worry, man, we'll get everybody on the plane.
Okay, I realize this is the early 90s and they didn't have the sophistication that modern airports do now, but they do have a fucking manifest, right? There's definitely a ticket, and therefore a person, missing from this flight.
My dad ran in here right before I bumped into this lady.
Okay, board him, but make sure he locates his family before you leave him.
Or just very casually let him identify the back of a random person that somewhat resembles his father, despite not seeing any of his other family. Either way works. I'm pretty fucking high right now anyway.
We'll go find an empty seat. Have a Merry Christmas.
An empty seat? It's not fucking Southwest, lady.
Have you ever been to Florida?
Où c'est petit, ça? Moi, je viens de la France. Je suis un touriste.
Even though Kevin asked this question in English, this asshole starts a soliloquy in French, because I guess we needed a reminder that all non-American tourists are dumbasses. American Airlines.
Something wrong?
I have that feeling.
Are you telling me that Kate didn't check once they got on that plane that everyone was on? Also, there are so many fucking instances of this movie just repeating the first one that I'm gonna stop listing them individually, and instead just give the movie 20 extra sins for being fucking lazy. This radar indicates that Kevin's flight to New York is 226, but the flight attendant announced it as 176, which Kevin didn't hear because he had headphones on. So I guess the person in charge of continuity assumed we also couldn't hear it, and couldn't be bothered with details like the correct flight number that we specifically mentioned 3 times.
Mom? Dad?
All these adults ignore the pleas from a child that's obviously lost.
My family's in Florida. I'm in New York.
You know, I realized Kevin was mad at his family last night when the whole fight with Buzz went down, but he seemed genuinely fine this morning in the van, and even had a few nice moments with his dad before he was callously ditched. So what's Kevin so f***ing excited about here, besides the fact that he gets to deliver the same line again? Jesus Christ, movie, I know you're trying to cram in all the interesting spots in New York City, but Kevin just went from Midtown to Chelsea, then walked from there down to Chinatown, which is all the way in Lower Manhattan, then went to Battery Park at the southernmost part of the island. Was anyone paying attention to the practical realities of this movie? Even though it's the bustling holiday season, Kevin is the only person allowed on the World Trade Center observation deck. Why are Harry and Marv in this fucking movie? The fact that it has to be the same criminals as last year somehow makes it even more stupid, and this movie could have taken advantage of this new setting and given Kevin someone else to go up against. Were Dana Carvey and John Lovitz busy? Kevin has now apparated all the way up to Central Park, because nothing means anything, and looking at an actual map if you work on this movie. And yes, he could be using taxis to get around, but there's not one to be seen after he rides in from the airport. I know, the movie's got a movie, but I'd be remiss if I didn't at least mention how astro-fucking-nomical the odds are that not only Kevin and the Wet Bandits are in New York City at the same time, but that they pass each other on the same fucking street.
Excuse me, where's the lobby?
Down the hall and to the left.
Also, why is Trump looking back at Kevin? In fact, why is anyone looking at this kid? In New York, some kid walking around by himself wouldn't even be in the top 100 of weirdest things seen that day for most of these people.
This is Peter McAllister, the father.
Yes, sir.
I'd like a hotel room, please.
Yes.
If you needed any more proof that Kevin grows up to be Jigsaw and or the Collector, here it is. Hang the hell on. The McAllisters woke up when the transport showed up at 8 a.m., which means there's no way they made a flight before 8:45, just like the last movie. It's at least a 2-hour flight from Chicago to New York, and New York is on Eastern Time. So the earliest Kevin would land there would be 11:45 local time. Factor in the time he spent looking around the airport and the cab ride into the city, and he gets to Manhattan at 1 p.m. So he did all that shit around the city, which included a trip to the top of the World Trade Center in 1 hour and 45 minutes.
Cedric,
Yes?
don't count your chips in public.
I know I'm going hard at this movie, and it deserves it, but I'm taking a sin off for Tim Curry, who's a national f***ing treasure, and I don't care that he's English. We're claiming him.
This is one of our finest suites, sir.
Holy shit, the plaza's gouging the shit out of the McAllisters. Kevin only asked for an extra-large bed, TV, and mini fridge, but they upsold him to a f***ing suite without telling him. It's as if whomever stocked the minibar knew a kid would be staying in this room all by himself on his dad's dime.
Do you know how the TV works?
I'm 10 years old. TV's my life.
Okay, I know this movie was released 2 years after the first one, but it wants us to believe this takes place 1 year from the previous events. But in the first movie, Kevin was 8 years old, now he's 10? Did he take one of those gap years that everyone talks about? Isn't that how that works?
That's the jingle bell rock.
Yikes!
Movie makes yet another lazy-ass joke about Kevin's swimsuit coming off during the cannonball, despite clearly showing that it stayed on after he hit the water.
Housekeeping.
Why is Kevin freaked out? He just had room service in here, so the hotel staff know his dad isn't there yet. What the f*** was the concierge's plan? Even if he's suspicious of Kevin, is it standard practice to break in and head directly to the bathroom to investigate?
Get out of here, you nosy little pervert, or I'm gonna slap you silly!
Good thing Uncle Frank said nosy little pervert instead of, Kevin. I was gonna give this movie props for getting the correct area code in New York for Uncle Rob, but then I noticed that the Millers and the Mears both have letters in their phone numbers, so props are retracted and sins are awarded.
Good night, Mom.
Good night, Kevin.
Unlike the last movie, Kevin's mom is A-okay with leaving the airport without knowing Kevin's location or being immediately available to jump on a flight once he's found.
Your drawers, sir.
Jesus, this shows that Kevin's reaction to the concierge's knock last night makes even less sense. He's sending his fucking underwear to be cleaned.
Hey, nice house, but there's no bathroom in it.
I can't figure out if Marv is supposed to be funny, dumb, or just an asshole.
So what's the plan?
Everybody leaves for a nice holiday off. We come out of our little houses.
Cute shot and all, but are Marv and Harry really waiting until they're in this position to discuss their plan for the robbery? Also, what happens if someone decides to buy the playhouses they're hiding in?
2 turtle doves. You keep one, and you give the other one to a very special person.
Or to a random homeless lady that you'll meet later tonight and get to know for less than 2 hours. Up to you.
See, turtle doves are a symbol of friendship and love.
The 1990s was the last decade where this line being delivered by an old dude to a kid wouldn't be creepy. Wow, Harry's vision comes with its own zoom and enhance cliche.
Look who it is, Marv.
Harry's revenge boner is so strong he doesn't even notice what a massive coincidence this situation is. Look, I know this is New York and people don't give a shit, but seriously, no one offers assistance to this screaming child that's being accosted by 2 shabby-looking grown men? A ton of people were just walking in this area, but somehow Harry and Marv are the only ones that can't avoid the pratfall. Jesus Christ, did Harry have a cyborg retinal transplant while he was in prison or something?
Hold it right there.
I don't know what's more annoying, the fact that Kevin can perfectly edit this video on the fly, or the fact that I'm gonna have to watch another repeated scene from the last movie again. Also, does anyone remember how shitty the sound was on VHS tapes? There's no way the staff thinks they're talking to an actual human here. How the fucking fuck did Harry and Marv know Kevin was coming out of this exit? In the fucking loading dock, especially given how moronic these assholes are shown to be. A city of millions of people, and they keep running into the same people over and over. One of the most unexpectedly annoying things about this movie is Marv's constant thievery of clothing without any repercussions.
I want to go home.
Just not badly enough to talk to a police officer or go to a hospital or really do anything that would facilitate that.
We're going to New York. Move it.
But why is everyone going? If anything, this makes it more difficult to find Kevin if they have to keep up with the entire family. Plus, Kate just said that it's almost impossible for everyone to be on the same plane during the holidays, and now it's Christmas f***ing Eve. New York City is full of ugly, crazy, dangerous people cliché.
Hey, you looking for somebody to read you a bedtime story?
This prostitute is extremely comfortable with propositioning a 10-year-old. Crazy, misunderstood bird lady stands up just slowly enough to ensure Kevin's maximum terror.
This is great.
Not only is this sinful for romanticizing New York City pigeons, and seriously, f*** those pigeons. This is way too much pigeon stuff in this story about a runaway child being pursued by two criminals. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? No, not practice. You clearly break into its instrument loft late on Christmas Eve.
I wasn't always like this, you know. I had a job, I had a home, I had a family. But the man I loved fell out of love with me.
Skip!
I'm just afraid if I do trust someone, I'll get my heart broken again.
That's your main concern right now? What about histoplasmosis? I'd be much more afraid of that.
It's getting pretty late. I better get going.
Considering how long it feels like this conversation has been going on, I'm guessing we're at least 3 days past Christmas.
Say goodbye to your birds for me.
Or you could do it. You're f***ing standing right by them.
You can mess with a lot of things, but you can't mess with kids on Christmas.
So if this had been Easter, Kevin would have just said, F*** those kids, and gone on his merry way. Also, Kevin's headed straight to the police, right? Right? Damn it! Casual breaking and entering is casual. Did Kevin draw all this and then roll it back up so he could have his own dramatic blueprint roll out a few seconds later? Also, sure, it's absurd that Kevin put this entire plan together, and that he's planning to lure Harry and Marv back to the house in order to torture them. But I'm more skeptical about his ability to find a full set of colored markers in this construction zone. He's in full view of the entire street, which is the affluent and crowded Upper West Side, by the way, but nobody sees this future horror movie villain going about his business here.
It's Christmas Eve, and because of you, our child is lost in one of the biggest cities in the world.
Not to overstate the obvious, but this is some serious blame shifting. This is like saying the drive-thru guy at Taco Bell made you fat. Not to beat Kevin's geographical abilities into the ground, but how did he know how to get from where he was to the toy store? Last time, he got here in a limo from a completely different location. You know, for an experienced thief, Harry is terrible at putting money in a bag. That should be the first thing you learn at Thief Academy.
He took a picture!
Actually, considering Kevin used a flash for this shot, he almost definitely took a picture of his own reflection. F*** me. The antics in the first movie at least had some basis in reality. If they survive all this bullshit, Marv and Harry should be in the next Fast and Furious movie.
Harry!
I guess the alarm that went off after Kevin threw the brick just decided it had enough and stopped on its own. Holy shit, Kevin graduated from mildly harmful pranks to outright attempted murder in 1 year.
Harry! I've reached the top!
Look, I understand we're supposed to laugh at all this carnage, and some of it's funny, but asking me to believe this motherfucker wouldn't look down and see the total lack of flooring is more than a suspension of disbelief. It would take like an expulsion of disbelief. Wow, this solid concrete floor just magically tilted so that Marv could slide into this bookcase. How would Kevin have any clue how to do this? At least the first movie stuck to ridiculous but fairly easily made contraptions. This movie makes Looney Tunes look legit. Also, of course I get that this part of the movie isn't supposed to be taken seriously. However, the problem is the rest of the movie wants to be taken seriously. So this is like trying to have your cake and torture it too. Aged criminal Harry not only does a perfect handstand on the toilet instead of just dunking his head in there or simply taking off the cap, but he also holds the pose even after the massive explosion.
Do you remember what happened last year?
Does anyone?
Merry Christmas.
Look, I'm running out of ways to say Kevin is clearly a fucking psychopath. At this point, eventually becoming a member of a pizza-based rock band is the best case scenario by far.
The two guys who robbed Duncan's toy chest are in the park.
Even though the last 20 fucking minutes of this movie have kept Marv and Harry in a confined space, Kevin waits until now to call 911 and lead them to an open public area.
Hurry, they got a gun.
Yeah, and what's up with that? Harry's had multiple times where Kevin was just standing there in front of him, including before they went down the rope. So why the fuck hasn't he just shot him? It took nearly 2 full movies for Kevin to finally be hoisted by his own petard.
Do you have kids?
Yes, ma'am.
And what would you do if one of them was missing?
I don't know, maybe hang out in a Miami hotel room watching It's a Wonderful Life until a rando airport security officer found a clue? Jesus, lady, lay off your guilt trip until you can go a full calendar year without losing a child.
I know where he is. I need to get to Rockefeller Center.
Sure, Kate knows that the biggest Christmas tree in the city is at Rockefeller Center, but how does Kevin know that? And how does she know that he knows?
It isn't possible I can see all of them. Can I just see my mother?
Kevin's praying to this Christmas tree instead of literally calling his mother on the phone or reaching out to really anyone in an authority position. Jesus Christ, who keeps giving this kid all these cans of Coke before bed?
Hey guys, wake up, it's Christmas!
If this suite's big enough to have 2 fucking floors, why are all the kids sleeping on top of each other? Yeah, magical Christmas magic and shit, but come the hell on. How in the world would Duncan be able to track Kevin down to the plaza, figure out how many kids are there, their ages, and then be able to mobilize this amount of giftage? Considering what Kevin just put his family through, he could have at least let them know what he was doing. Even in 1992, I'm calling bullshit on that bill. Given how many pages Buzz just went through, it would have been triple that easily.
Sometimes it just means forget about it.
Plaza Hotel reservations, may I help you?
Hello, Amanda. I want to play a game.
Hey!
You can do it!
Hey! Did you happen to see the most beautiful little...
Shut it!
If you did...
I suddenly remembered my Charlemagne. Let my armies be the rocks and the trees and the birds in the sky. Go!
Except that a bird ran into my giant freak head.
I'm Kevin McAllister.
I'm kind of a big deal.